Hey, it's Adam from Judoscale, and I want to show you how you can tweak your auto-scaling behavior using the configuration options that we have in Judoscale. So here I'm looking at our scaling page, and as I scroll down past our scaling charts, we can see our configuration options here. And the first one we have is target queue time range that defaults to 25 to 50 milliseconds for all new applications. Now, what this target queue time range means is this upper bound, this 50 milliseconds, that's probably the most important metric here. That's the trigger for scaling up. And right now, this is a Heroku app, so these say dynos, but this will scale you up. Scaling up just means adding a dyno, adding an instance, a task, whatever you have, depending on your hosting platform. And when your request queue time hits that 50 millisecond threshold, Judoscale is going to scale you up immediately. Now, the lower bound of this range, 25 milliseconds, that impacts your downscaling, but it's not immediate. And we'll see in a little bit how you kind of control how sensitive that is. But this basically means your queue time has to settle below 25 milliseconds to downscale. And you can kind of see in this chart, we highlight the queue time range here. And as we move this around, this highlighted area in the chart changes. So you can kind of hone in on the green area is kind of the sweet spot where you're not going to scale up or down. But if you go above that green shaded area, you're going to scale up. And as you settle down below that green shaded area, that's when you're going to scale down. The next configuration option we have is the number of dynos or instances or tasks. So this is basically a cost control measure to prevent you from, if your queue time is high, you might not want to scale indefinitely. You probably have some sort of cap that you don't want to go above or below, and this is what lets you configure that. You might find that, one instance is never enough, so you don't want to ever scale down below one. So Judoscale is never going to auto-scale you outside of this range. If we auto-scale you up to 6 dynos or instances, and request queue time is still high, we're not going to scale you any higher than that. We will send you a notification if you're at that max dyno situation for 24 hours, but this is where you can kind of constrain your limits for the number of instances you want to be running. Now, the sensitivity section is where things can get interesting. Upscale jumps, so by default, we just scale you up one instance at a time. But you might find that you get traffic spikes really quickly, and you need to scale up really fast to meet that demand. So you might want to scale up by 2 dynos at a time, 5 dynos at a time. We've definitely seen cases where that can be helpful. So upscale jumps is where you can control the jumps, the steps that we scale you up by. Upscale frequency is also really helpful to handle those sort of spike type situations. Maybe you want to upscale just one instance at a time, but you want to do it more frequently. You want to upscale, every 30 seconds as queue time warrants it. By default, we have you at 120 seconds. 2 minutes is usually a pretty good opportunity for your new instance to come alive and for it to handle whatever sort of spike may have come about. And that way you're not unnecessarily scaling up while you're just kind of waiting for new instances to come alive and start handling traffic. Now, the downscale delay, we defaulted to 10 minutes, and this is the amount of time that we wait before downscaling your application. Remember, we talked about this lower bound of your queue time range here, how your queue time needs to settle below that number for a period of time. This is how you can control that period of time. So what this basically means is your queue time needs to be below 25 milliseconds consistently for 10 minutes for Judoscale to scale you down. And then it'll continue scaling you down every 10 minutes after that if queue time remains below the 25 milliseconds. Obviously, until we get to whatever your minimum instance count is here. So that's a quick tour of the configuration options we have in Judoscale and how to use them to tweak your autoscale behavior. Hope it was helpful, and I'll see you next time.